Am I sounding all right?
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience
That's the
possible.
compulsory drive-through in the 20-minute races, isn't it?
Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With season 4 of Formula, that massive bull here at the Red Bull Ring. Formula Ford, known for its slipstreaming, its close pack racing. This is a track that will absolutely emphasise that. I'm David Haynes, joined by Jason Fewens and producer Daniel Yeaman with us as well. Jason, we're looking forward to a new year, a new season. The drivers are almost all ready to go.
Yeah, straight into it here tonight. We've got 27 drivers making their not their debut, but turning up for round number 1 of the all-important opening round of the season. So a track really, really well suited. Slipstreaming is going to be critical, so you don't want to get into a battle. You want to keep in a draft train, and your strategic pit stop's going to be critical to make sure you don't lose that draft with another team around you.
Yep, 2 12-lap races coming your way, and this is the grid for race number 1. They're lining up now. Ewan Baker is on the pole alongside Tom Freer, who's joining Ozicar. Ewan Baker's been with us for plenty of races. The row behind, Jamie Stovald and Adam Briggs, and I tell you what, they are underway, because all of them are on the grid and heading down towards turn number 1 now. It is a big grid of 26, and I'm so sad we didn't get to all of them, but it's cold ties for these Formula Fords as they go into turn number 1 here at the Red Bull Ring, and again, it's already caused some dramas. That looks like Dean Russell dropping down the field. He's in the outfield and he gets clipped by the 75? Or was that Ira Felberg in the 72? Regardless, big dramas already in turn number 1. Ewan Baker leads.
Yeah, it looks like Ben Miles and Cody Carlson there coming together or finding each other on the exit of turn number 1, opening lap. So obviously straight into the green light here tonight. Lots of drivers keen to get this season underway. You can see them going 2-3 wide down the back straight already, adjusting for position. So the drivers are out to make amends and make up some ground early in this race where they can.
Absolutely, pretty mild conditions, but the tyres will take a lap or 2 to come in. A lot of time at full throttle here, a lot of elevation change, not a lot of long loaded corners to get that tyre temperature in. And Baker still leading from Tom Freer and Adam Briggs, Jamie Stovald in there as well. Your top 4 all as they started, but you can see how much pack fighting there is happening behind. Some drivers like Stuart Vaughan managing to gain a couple of positions. Sean Doyle's mum's watching on and he has gained a couple of positions there as well. You can see it's Warren Henry dropping down the timing tower there as well. Almost 1 lap completed. They happen quick and frantic around this place. The drivers will be building up their confidence and also building up a mental idea of where they can get close in that slipstream, where's a good place to attack and pass without losing too much time.
Yeah, the other thing they'll be building up is temperature tyres, or temperature in their tyres. Tongue twister here for the opening round. Looks like P3, they're just taking an alternate line down the main straight, getting some fresh air as they dive into the braking zone. That looks like Adam Briggs. Just taking an alternate line into turn number 1, but they all make it through relatively smoothly, as does the rest of the field. They make their way through. Dennis Hancock is diving into the pits at the end of lap 1, and he's made his transition already, so couple of cars look like they might be stopping too with possible damage.
Yeah, some of the ones that we saw make contact, for example, Ben Miles definitely might have picked up damage. Matthew Harriott looks like he might have as well. That's just Dennis Hancock taking his compulsory drive-through. It was on the graphic briefly, and this is a format we've had before in Aussie Car. Instead of a compulsory pit stop, which throws too much randomness into it, you just got to take that drive-through. We're side by side for the race lead here, though. Ewan Baker's led almost all of the way so far in this first race of the new season, Season 4 of Aussie Car Formula Ford. But now Tom Freer goes to the point, and I think he's got a couple of teammates willing to work with him there. It looks like Freer, Briggs and Stovall potentially working together. We have another look at this race round format here at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, the Synergy team are looking pretty dominant up the front, making 3 of the top 5 cars at the moment. Like we did have Ewan Baker, Stuart Vaughan and James Chastanoff, all previous winners in previous seasons in this car as well. So the top 5, 6 making a bit of a break for it at the moment, but if they don't play it too smart and keep tripping over themselves, they could find that little group behind just ever so slightly getting onto the back of them. We'll see a big heap of smoke on the exit at turn 1.
Briggs has gone around. At the same time, there was a bit of a check-up from the group as Ewan Baker went into the pit entry. Briggs, I think, has stalled it as well, and he is going from at the very front of the race almost all the way to the very back, and he still hasn't served that pit lane transit that he's going to need to as well. He's trying to stay out of the way, but he has dropped from right at the front all the way back down to 22nd, now 23rd as well. So Tom Freer leads, and with all of that, he now has a 2-second lead over Stuart Vaughan. Look at this battle, side by side, second, third, fourth, between Stovall, Vaughan and Chastanoff. The teammates, the 3 of them, now getting separated up front here. Freer getting away. We saw Briggs dropping all the way to the back, and now Stovall getting attacked from one side, attacked from the other. Vaughan defending very strongly here in second.
It'll be interesting to see if any of these guys dive into the pits to counter off Ewan Baker, who in hindsight probably made a pretty smart decision diving for pit lane when he did, but curiously he actually did stop in his pit bay, so he is going to have some lost time on this front group if these guys don't also dive into the pits and actually make a stop for about the 4 or 5 seconds I think he was stationary for, so you'll probably see that gap on track once things settle down.
There'll be some very confused Formula 1 drivers. Looks like Stuart Vaughan held the inside line at turn 4 and didn't run the guy on the outside off the road. I didn't know that was possible, but now we know, at least in Formula 4s, it could be. There's your leader, Tom Freer, just dropping down the hill as you look at this battle for second, third and fourth amongst the Formula 4s. Pit entries on the right there, and you really do need to check up significantly to hold the tight apex line and not get an unsafe pit entry penalty there as well. It's pretty restrictive. You've got to be quite slow on your way into the lane, and when you're in a big pack like this, you've got to telegraph that or someone will drive into the back of you.
So out front at the moment, Tom Freeman's got a bit of a gap, probably 2.5 seconds to second, third and fourth on track at the moment. So a bit of clean air in front of him and behind him, so those guys aren't getting any real benefit from the slipstream. We see a couple more cars that dive into pit lane and take their compulsory stop. That looks like Warren Henry in the 67 car exiting out, and he is, looks like that might be.
Dennis Hancock and Brody Shepherd both have stopped already, and they're fighting side by side here. Now we're going to fight 3 wide with Adam Briggs, who hasn't stopped, trying to work his way back through as well. 2 cars that have stopped, one that hasn't in Adam Briggs, although I guess he stopped in the runoff. He didn't go through pit lane though, and so that means he's a little out of position with some of these other cars that he's fighting. Oh, and there we go. There it is. There's the Lewis Hamilton.
The signature line through turn number 4.
What was Alex Albon's radio message? I think we could cue that one up. Mayhaps. And oh, drama there. I think that might have been Clayson. Spinning around. Jordan Dakin is also around. He's no longer the leader of those who have pitted. So all sorts of drama happening in this part of the track right here. Basically the only real left-handers on the circuit, tripping them up.
Yeah, fast flowing track, predominantly right-hand corners, but of course you do have that sequence of left-handers through the infield. This is Chastanoff, who was sitting in P4 and making his pit lane transits, and he obviously doesn't stop and go through as he should. So on the pit exit now, we'll see whether he comes out in traffic or get some clean air around him. Looks like he's got probably 2 or 3 seconds to the car in front and no threats on behind.
From the pinnacle to the pits, Adam Briggs has got a meatball flag after some of that contact that we saw, what I want to call turn 4. I'm not actually completely on top of all of that. We'll get across it though. So you've still got a whole heap of cars out the front there yet to have stopped. The column of live timing on the left showing you, of course, your leading cars haven't been through the pit lane yet for their compulsory service change. Chastano's highest running car to have made that. Sure, that looks like Briggs stopped in the pit box and he's out of the car.
Yeah, he will park that one up. The boys will virtually repair it, put it back together, and he'll find himself on the grid for race number 2 very shortly. We are only 12 short laps here in each of the sprint races tonight, so we are nearly at the halfway point already with quick laps being circulated around this Austrian circuit.
So Chastano 16th at the 11th at the moment, 16 seconds away from the race lead. Tom Freer got a couple of other drivers hitting that pit entry, including Jamie Stovald. So you've got a really quick run into pit lane, and then you've got to slow down to the 80 k's an hour, run through the lane. And you've got a tight corner on the exit as well. A few other drivers coming through the lane. Nathan Norman going to be one of them. Aaron Friend is also going to do that. So that clears up a lot of space on the road in front of James Chastanoff, because he's got to drive his little heart out right now if he's going to put pressure on Tom Freer, who's running long into this race. The driver's actually going to rejoin in front of James Chastanoff there as well. So Stovald has had a good run through the lane to be just ahead of Chastanoff.
So we make our way down to the hard braking right-hand corner of turn 3. If we make our way down the back straight again, Chastanoff's probably got a little bit of draft, so he might use that to his benefit to try and get back onto the SS car in front of him, and that'll happen within the next lap and a half, I'd say. There's not that much gap between these two here at the moment as they go into that heavy turn 4 braking zone and start making their way through the infield back down the hill.
Very significant amount of elevation change here in the Styrian Mountains of Austria. Not quite as much as Bathurst. Don't quote me on that. We'll maybe figure it out, but certainly for these relatively low horsepower Formula Ford cars, after turn 1, they're going uphill. The slipstream is super strong in those areas, and there's a couple of corners where track drops away. You pick up speed and sort of get towards your terminal velocity pretty quickly as well. You're looking at your top 7 haven't pitted yet. Stuart Vaughan's looped it in the penultimate corner. Was he going for the pit entry and got it wrong? Either way, he's losing an incredible amount of time. He's going to end up behind Stovald and Chastanoff, who've both made their stops.
Yeah. So Vaughan was sitting in P2 when that puff of smoke appeared, so that's just going to leave Tom Freer out in front by a good 5-second margin now. So in the remaining 4.5 laps, it's going to take a lot of effort for these guys to get back up to the leader. So without putting the commentator's curse on Freer, he's the only one who can lose it at the moment, I would imagine. James Chastanoff putting in the fastest lap of the race in P7 as well.
Yeah, that slipstream doing plenty for him behind Jamie Stovald. Take a look. Caleb Dawson and Stuart Vaughan here. Now, is this how Vaughan in the Daytona USA red and blue car ended up looped around? So Dawson goes to the inside of him here in the penultimate corner. Vaughan's round the outside and... oh! Driver in front is going for pit entry but does not signal it, and Vaughan runs up the back of him.
And to add insult to injury, I reckon the car driving into the pits may have just got a pit lane penalty as well, because I don't think he quite made it a successful entry. It is a tricky one here, like you said, under braking zone and with the car fair up your exhaust pipe. Plenty of pressure on the car in front to get it right.
No black flag for Dawson. I get the idea actually that the unsafe pit entry used to maybe be a little stricter here than it is now. I think there used to be more white line to the apex there. It's 5 laps to go in this first of 2 races, and you're seeing a lot more drivers head to pit lane, and there's a bit of a traffic jam on the way in for Brady Baldwin and Jacob Wallmeyer. Caleb Dawson is in the lane again though. It wasn't displaying a black flag for him, but Caleb Dawson is in the pit lane for a second time, and is it because of damage? It is. He's heading to his pit box. and he'll join Adam Briggs there. So, exiting pit lane together, Wallmeyer and Baldwin. And they are behind Stovall, behind Chasnoff, behind Nathan Norman, and also behind Ewan Baker as well. We've still got Freer, Dylan DeBono and Sam Chapman as the top three yet to have stopped, but almost everyone else in this field has at this point of race one.
Yeah, with 4 laps to go, I've had some winners and some losers in this race so far. You can see on your relative or your only screen at the moment, Sam Chapman up a huge 12 positions from where he started. Of course, I think he's still got to take his pit stop. Dylan DeBono also up 7, but our biggest improvement from their starting position is P9 at the moment, John Snell, as he just may dive into pit lane very shortly. He's up 17 positions at the moment from when the lights went green.
Not many other racetracks that have trackside billboards for tomatoes. This is one of them. So now I know where to go if I want Österreichsche Schmeckwürste Tomaten. And we are Geschmackwürste with racing at the moment, overflowing with flavour.
Of course, tomato being the national fruit of Austria.
Is it?
Absolutely no idea.
You had me. I shouldn't have questioned it. We should have just rolled with that and said, yep, perfect.
So good little battle, Jamie Stovall, James Chasnoff. They've changed positions over the last couple of laps, back and forth. Chasnoff getting the better into the braking zone, turn 1 here on lap number 9. But of course, Stovall's going to have the slipstream into the heavy braking zone down here at the bottom of the hill. So we might just stay with you for a couple of corners and see how this all unfolds.
And there's a world where this could end up being for the race win as well. They're 16 seconds behind Freer, who still needs to take a pit lane drive-through. So it could be very, very close there. And if they cost each other a lot of time, they'll be handing the race win to Freer. But if the slipstreaming is as powerful as you imagine it is for these Formula Fords around what's already known as a high-speed circuit, then if they can lap faster than Freer right now, these two will end up fighting it out for the first win of the season and indeed the new year in Aussie car.
Now, something we haven't spoken about and we will cover over the course of the season and seasons to come. This is just one of a small championship within a larger championship this year in the Aussie car world. So something we'll talk about a bit later on, and something that's really been a big draw card to get the numbers, the 26 cars we've got here on the grid tonight.
There was a time when Chastanoff was 17 seconds away from the lead. He's now showing on screen as 15.5 seconds away. So these two are still doing good pace. Dylan DeBono from second. He is on the lane. That pops up on the graphics. So Sam Chapman. So it basically just leads Tom Freer, the race leader, yet to stop. He's got maybe one more lap before he'd have to. He seems to be enjoying a little bit of clean air at the moment. It is a congested track in some places with 26 Formula Fords out there.
So no traffic in front of him. You could probably just milk this one for another lap or two before he takes his pit stop. So he hasn't got any real threat of being held up from anyone in behind. He's got no threat from cars in front, so it's just a matter of putting all the corners together, hitting his braking zones and making sure the apexes are hit. Ewan Baker on screen with the fastest lap, hence with the little purple stopwatch on your screen at the moment, sitting in P5.
And even with that time lost, needing to get repairs that cost Ewan Baker about 8 seconds, he is still in that 5th place, as you point out. Chapman and Nathan Norman fighting just behind him. A couple of other great little battle packs all the way through there. It looks like you've got Brady Baldwin and Jacob Wallmeyer. Oh, and that's not quite the track limits. Now we're going to go side by side through the next, but Wallmeyer's going to get his nose chopped by Brady Baldwin. Tom Freer from the race lead will pit. He needs a perfect run on the pit entry. He needs to be perfect on the pit lane speed limiter, and he needs a perfect exit because it's Jamie Stovald and James Chastanoff that he's fighting for the race win. They're on the pit straight right now at speed. He's just hit the pit exit. He's going to be accelerating through the tight pit exit, and then without the maximum speed on the pit exit here as well, and the run up the straight. But he has about 4 seconds in hand right now. By the time they get to the next corner, it might be down to 2 or 3, but it's looking decent for Tom Freer right now with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, he doesn't actually pay too much attention to his mirrors and what's happening behind, and these guys battling for the second, third on the podium. Probably smart enough to work together. They don't really want to go tripping over each other this early in the season, but you never know what's happening underneath the helmet. Bit of red mist and bragging rights are at stake here between Chastanoff and Stovall. Jump on board with Chastanoff looking over the top of his helmet, just shadowing and mimicking every single move that Jamie Stovall makes, but penultimate lap, white flag this time around when they cross the start finish line, so hasn't got a lot of opportunities to make a move if anything presents itself. But I'd suggest he's probably going to be happy sitting in third here and just banking a heap of points.
A decent way to kick off the season as well. We've got the invert potentially going into race number 2 here as well. Let's see it. So we'll see exactly how that happens, but regardless, you don't want to throw it all away here in race number 1. You're looking to start race number 2 in a good position as well, and then carry on and maybe be a little bit more daring in the final race of the night. White flag is waving for 1 lap to go in race 1 of 2. Freer, Stovall and Chastanoff leading, but you've got drama here for Sam Chapman, is it? No, Dylan DePono, apologies.
Yeah, he was sitting about a second behind Ewan Baker in P5, so coming onto the straight for the final time to get the white flag, just asking a little bit of much of those tyres this late in the race.
Penultimate corner, too much speed, and get through the smoke, Ricky Bobby there for Ewan Baker, as it turns out, and yeah, not the greatest rejoin either, but hey, tough to do. Tom Freer on the final lap leads by 4 seconds. Jamie Stovall and James Chastanoff are fighting it out side by side for second and third right now, heading up the hill and then diving down through the right-hander at turn 4 here. A chance to sort of go over-under potentially if you can, and that's what James Chastanoff is trying to do. He's not given up on this at all yet. They are not going to catch Tom Freer by the looks of things. Other battles throughout the top 10. Sam Chapman versus Nathan Norman, Jacob Woolmeyer versus Brady Baldwin. It's a 3-way fight, Brody Shepherd, Ben Miles and Dean Russell. How about Sean Doyle battling John Snell, Caleb Dawson and Matt Harriet, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th. Everyone in this opening race of the new season of Ozicar Formula Ford is getting the Formula Ford racing experience that they signed up for. But Tom Freer is going to come out of the final corner and he's going to kick off a new season in style. He's going to be the first race winner in Ozicar Formula Ford in 2024. And looks like James Chastanoff is going to get second because there's dramas for Jamie Stovall. He's around in the final corner. Ewan Baker sneaks onto the podium.
Yeah, there'll be some shaking of the heads in the background. Not too sure exactly how that all unfolded, but very sneaky podium from Ewan Baker. I'm sure he wasn't expecting that with a lap to go. So we'll just jump on board, have a look at our Locked On iRacing podcast replay.
Contact between Chastanoff and Jamie Stovall. Stovall on the inside. Gets half spun around, loses 1 position, almost loses 2. They were side by side through the penultimate corner here as well. I think he was clear. Did they each just take 2 lines that converged a little bit? Super tough to say.
Yeah, a bit hard to, this will tell us a lot more. A bit hard to see from that other camera angle whether or not he was actually pinched on the inside or not, or looks like there was a bit of contact between Stovall's front left and side pod, right side pod of James Chastanoff, but not a lot of damage done, just a position and a couple of points in the opening round. I'm sure stewards will have a look at that and they'll make their own decisions at the end of the race as to how that all unfolded.
What, just 5 minutes until they grid up for race number 2, and a lot to go through between now and then. Let's start by looking at the results of race number 1. Tom Freer, in the end, with a pretty strong win there, almost 5 seconds over James Chastanoff. A little bit more space created behind there as well by Jamie Stovall, dropping back to 4th. Ewan Baker taking the 3rd away from him. And then Sam Chapman, Nathan Norman, Brady Bolden, Jacob Wallmeyer, Warren Henry, and Dylan De Bono completing the top 10. Then you had Brody Shepherd, Ben Miles, Dean Russell, Douglas Gowans, Aaron Friend, Stuart Vaughan, Sean Doyle, Caleb Dawson, John Snell, and Matthew Harriott as the top 20. And the first race results completed by Ben Wheeler, Ira Felberg, Simon Clayson, Jordan Dakin, Dennis Hancock, Cody Carlson on the lead lap, Adam Briggs. Too much damage, ended up parking it in the end. We've got one more race coming up, and a few other things to sort of touch on, both the supporters of this season of Ozicar Formula Ford and also the calendar that we can expect, Jason.
Yeah, the calendar is something that we're really looking forward to releasing and speaking about. The Ozicar tend to do a bit of a theme, and this Formula Ford season, again, pretty exciting calendar. If you look at the Red Bull Ring, we're here at the moment, then we're back in 2 weeks' time for Rudskogen Motor Centre, which is a track very, very well suited to these nimble little cars. Round 3 is something that we're looking forward to as well. We've got a sprint round at Circuit de Spa Frankenshops. So Slipstream Fest, completely different method in the way you've got to approach that sprint race, and of course Autodrome at Monza as well, an enduro race. So really mixing it up as the season goes on. Jerez and Brands Hatch to round out the season as well by the end of March. So plenty of racing coming your way here on the Ozicar Formula Ford Series on Simspeed TV over the coming months, and pretty excited about what's lays ahead.
On what you'd consider a bit of a Western European tour here, and a couple of new tracks there, like Jerez, like Rudskogen. Red Bull not been on iRacing all that long either. It's great to get some of that European flavour and flair. We've got Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving back again, supporting Ozicar this season, as well as the Locked On iRacing podcast. A few of the other returning sponsors as well. I believe we've still got No Social Hate campaign.
Yeah, some long-time sponsors and very, very well supported here in the Ozicar little community that Ira's created over the course of the previous, probably 4 years now, I think it's been going. So it's well and truly established itself. It's no longer a new league. It's really drawn some high-end quality drivers over that time, and each season it just continues to grow with little tweaks that he's making as each season rolls over. So Ira always thinking of what he can do to improve the racing and improve the show that we put on here at Simspeed TV.
So we've seen some racing on it, but let's have another closer look at Red Bull Ring in Austria. Vienna, largest city in the nation, a bit up to the northeast there. We're nestled a bit further through the mountains and the valleys, next to the airport there that once held a Grand Prix. This track a little more exciting in the region, and we've already seen, so turns 9 and 10 can be a little bit fraught, and turn 4 there was also, I guess, inevitable we're going to have some contact after I initially praised them for being clean through there.
Yeah, it's a good nippy little circuit. It's seen some modifications over the years. Most recently, a little chicane put in around about turn 2 on the map, particularly when the MotoGP bikes visit. It's a circuit that's very well suited to a number of different disciplines as well. And you sort of go back to the mid-'80s, and the track was really extended out past that green forest area on the left-hand side of your screen. Made for some great racing, some good undulation, as you spoke about earlier, Dave. But tried and proven method here at the moment. I don't think it's pretty hard not to get a good race here at the Red Bull Ring.
Now, I threw out a Google there, and apparently they're growing tropical fruit and vegetables year-round using thermal hot springs, and that's how they get those tomatoes in Austria. So that's a very, very exciting revelation to me. I love these graphics when we've got the red line of some of the old layouts as well. And from the satellite view, you can see a little bit of the old Österreichring, where instead of turning right there at the 90-degree turn one, it sort of went on a little bit further and then sort of flowed up the hill on the other side of some of that forest. So we have just a couple of seconds till they're going to grid up for race number 2. See if we can pause it. And you can just see a little bit of the old circuit around. Great circuit, not necessarily that safe.
Yeah, well, that's predominantly that's what killed the old circuit. Safety first, as they say. So drivers, being at the forefront, particularly through the 70s and 80s, as the safety push was really made by Niki Lauda through the Formula 1 days. But we'll have a look at our race 2 lineup, and they will start as they finished in race number 1. Tom Freer will take the pole position for race number 2. James Chestnoff lining up to his inside on the front row. Ewan Baker just taking a sneaky third there on the second row of the grid, and Jamie Stovald still sitting on fourth on the grid. So watch out for him. He'll be keen to make amends in race number 2.
Man, they grid up quick. We are not gonna get through this. There's your first 3 rows. We're ready to get racing once again, but Tom Freer has not made a perfect getaway. James Chastanoff has dropped the clutch in first gear far better. He's alongside. He's to the inside of turn number 1, and he is looking to lead them through turn number 1 into the race lead. Tyres cold, a spin almost inevitable. Looks like Brady Baldwin's gone around, spun out of harm's way, but then Dennis Hancock spun into him. Ewan Baker got a great run and a great slipstream out of turn 1. He's got his nose in front, 2 positions gained so far. The field looking 3 wide for the race lead, heading up in towards this turn 3. Baker on a super tight line from the inside there is going to get muscled by Chastanoff, who goes around the outside into the race lead. And I swear I saw 4 wide behind as well, because they are fighting ferociously over 6th place. Nowhere to go. Meat and sauce in the middle of the sandwich there for Stuart Vaughan.
Yeah, Vaughan showing really good pace early on in race number 1, so we know he's got the horsepower. A bit of chaos. Warren Henry in amongst that as well, just getting a bit of a tank slapper. You've got cars on their side, cars on their roof now, cars out in the sand, clearing the smoke. So there's plenty of carnage here on the start of race number 2.
From one car into another, smoke in the air in the corner, named as much in German, Rauch turn 4. And boy, oh boy, it's caught up a couple of cars, including Aaron French by the looks of things. Nathan Norman, Aaron French, Sean Doyle, Brady Baldwin, Ben Miles, Dennis Hancock, a few of the drivers missing out. Ben Wheeler is a Ben 3-wheeler at the moment.
Yeah, doing a pretty good job to try and limp back to the pits. You can see Sparks just skating off the bottom of his car. He's doing a pretty got his handful trying to dive back into the pit lane, and this is going to hold up Brady Baldwin as well as they make their way down through. Baldwin looking for an alternate route around to the left-hand side of him as he limps into pit lane to get that car repaired.
Through all of that, though, Stuart Vaughan has been a big winner on this opening lap. He was mixing it up through the pack. He's gained 10 positions. Simon Claeson's gained 12. Adam Briggs has gained 16. Through all the chaos, there has been a lot of changes of position, and some of that chaos made evident by the action you can see on pit lane. The compulsory drive-through doesn't mean you need to stop, but if you've got damage, you will need to stop. And that's why you see a lot of drivers that have done that. This is the race lead. Tom Freer is back to the race lead. Chastanoff back in a second. Jamie Stovall throwing his nose down the inside there from third, looking to get second place. Ewan Baker back into fourth there with the New Zealand Sim Racing Silver Fern livery. Sam Chapman, Stuart Vaughan, Dylan DeBono, Brodie Shepherd is your top 8 driver breakaway at the moment.
As you can see, though, that 8 out in front at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be the first one to blink as Free gets a little bit sideways on the exit there, just out in the sand, but going to compromise a little bit of speed. But he's got his teammate Jamie Stovall down the inside as a bit of a wingman at the moment, leaving James Chastanoff nowhere to go.
They go to the top 2. Chastanoff's still got his elbows out somewhat through the final corner. And Ewan Baker might have made just a little bit of contact with him there as well. They're going to go 3 wide because Sam Chapman's got a really good run. He's all the way to the inside. Now Stuart Vaughan can pick and choose his slipstream, battling for the race lead as well. Everywhere you look in this leading group, just super, super exciting racing that we've come to expect from Formula Ford.
Yeah, everybody's done a real good job not to trip over each other there through turn number 1. They've all sort of find their way into single file into the braking zone. But out in front, teammates from the SSR camp, Tom Freer, Jamie Stovall, leading the way at the moment. James Ewan Baker is tucked underneath the tailpipe in P3. So he was probably the biggest winner out of that little battle there on the main straight at the end of lap number 2.
Positions changing behind them, and in the next pack of Adam Briggs, Simon Clayson and John Snell here as well. Looks like Briggs continuing to work his way through the field now. 18 positions gained after starting dead last on the 27 car grid. He's been helped by what looks like about 10 cars needing repairs, so maybe 10 of those were for free. The other 8 he's definitely worked for. Gotten to the front of this group and not too far away from the lead, about 7 seconds off the lead at the moment. No one has yet made a drive-through, only damage repairs.
Yeah, the drive-through, obviously, in previous seasons we've seen a bit of a gamble or a big inconsistency in the time it takes for certain cars to change their tyres. So to make it an even playing field, all drivers are required to do a self-penalised pit lane transition. So it simulates a pit stop and keeps everybody on the same page, and that variance was up to 4 to 6 seconds sometimes, as we see some contact at the front of the field.
Aker was going for second place. He's made contact with Jamie Stovall in turn 1. Stovall has gone around. Tom Freer still leads this one. What happened between those two for second and third? James Chastano's now gone past them and up into second. So Stuart Vaughan as well, now up into third. So a lot happening in the leading group. We'll take a look again. Here's the teammates. They have sandwiched in Ewan Baker. Stovall gets down the inside there.
It almost looks like a potential netco, doesn't it? The car just behaves pretty uncharacteristically on the apex of turn number 1.
Baker running the slipstream, but he can't go anywhere. And then around the outside, he's just trying to hold his line. There was just a tiny bit of overlap there, and Baker thought, oh, I can hold around the outside here. And I think Stovall thought he might have been clear, and they just needed an inch more space that wasn't there. So with that, Freer leads by 1.5 seconds, and then behind him is this. Stuart Vaughan, James Chastanow, and Ewan Baker through the penultimate corner they go now. Do you think about stopping early? You absolutely do if you're James Chastanow.
Yeah, probably a call that we could see coming. Just doesn't want to get involved in a little battle, tripping over each other. There's still 5 or 6 laps to go, so making his first his only pit lane transition for this race, but first of the leaders to blink and get that out of the way, so he can just concentrate on putting his head down, his bum up, and completing the 12 laps and getting home in one piece.
So Chastanow is now the leader of the drivers to have cleared their stop. Caleb Dawson has also done his, but he's a little bit further behind. There's a bit more drama in turn 1 for Cody Carlson.
Yeah, Cody's doing a pretty good job. He was up at 11 spots, I think, when he had that little spin there on the exit of turn number 1. So rejoins, gets back up to pace. He's still up 6 spots from where he started. Of course, still got to make that compulsory pit lane transit as the race goes on, but only losing a handful of positions there, not the end of the world.
And here, battle for 4th place, Sam Chapman, Brody Shepherd, Dylan Zabono, and Jamie Stovall back to the tail of this group, trying to run with them. That's Zabono who gets the outside tyres just through some of the gravel there. Plenty of drivers have done that. And like Brody Shepherd, who gets his tyres into those gravel, and De Bono looks to get to the inside of him, but there just wasn't space there as the 55 of Brodie Shepherd tried to cover him off. It lets Jamie Stovall catch these two and catch them quickly. And in the penultimate corner, going for pit lane there, a couple of cars. So we're really into pit stop phase at the moment.
I think that was Shepherd and Stovall diving into the pits as well, so that leaves Dylan De Bono. He was under a little bit of pressure front and behind. Now he's got clean track in front of him as well, so I dare say he'll try and pit at the end of this lap, just cover off that little challenge there from those drivers around him as they exit the pit lane as we speak and rejoin the circuit. Looks like Stovall's made up quite a bit of ground through that little pit lane transition as well.
We've got a good pit exit as well, and he was trapped just a little bit behind Brodie Shepherd, so now they're side by side. They are 4 seconds behind. James Chastanoff, still the leading driver to a stop. Good run through the pit lane to Jamie Stovall and on that exit as well, as he managed to pick up another spot.
So Ewan Baker leading this one, the fastest lap of the race at the moment. Stuart Vaughan, he is up 14 positions as well. So good run from him. Of course, still got to take his pit lane transition. Dylan De Bono is sitting third on track. Sam Chapman as well. Tom Freer down a handful after a little bit of an incident earlier on. Adam Briggs, our biggest mover and shaker of the race so far. After a DNF in race number 1, he's up to P6 already. So good redemption race for him in race number 2 so far.
Imagine that the leaders are incentivised now to run long, and anyone who's in a little bit of traffic is incentivised to think about stopping now. So there's a few more that still likely might do it, like Tom Freer, for example, like Simon Clayson, mayhaps.
Yeah, Clayson rocking the McLaren inspired livery here tonight in the Formula Ford. Very distinctive orange on track, easy to spot. So
him and Matthew Harriott.
Yeah, a couple of teammates there as Simon makes his transition down through pit lane. Looks like his pit entry was okay. John Snell and the car behind him as well is Aaron Friend, I think, yeah, Jacob Allmeyer's teammate. So they're making their transition here with 5 laps to go. See him cross that white line, they can get back on the accelerator, climb back up that hill and re-enter the track at maximum speed.
Got the Leighton House livery once again. Well, I've been listening to the Adrian Newey book on Spotify because it's included as an audiobook on Spotify at the moment. So yeah, I learned a little bit about Leighton House recently.
Yeah, livery that goes back. It's been around for quite a long time, and it's something with the green and blue, very distinctive colours, and seems to have worked for them for quite a while.
Moormeyer dealing with Simon Clayson relatively easily there in this battle 13th and 14th. Moormeyer, of course, lost a little bit more time early in this race when he picked up damage, so because of that he had a longer stop earlier in the race compared to Clayson, who's just taken his and rejoined around about the same place. Moormeyer might have just a little bit more speed at the moment. 5 laps to go. Stuart Vaughan gets in the fastest lap of the race as he closes in on Ewan Baker, and that pair start a new lap with 5 to go. These two have made their stops, so there's only a few drivers yet now needing to stop. Tom Freer, Sam Chapman, Dylan De Bono amongst them, because behind them James Chastanoff, Brodie Shepherd, Jamie Stovall have already cleared all of their stops.
I think it's about a 12-second transition down through pit lane. So James Chastanoff sitting 13 seconds off the lead. So as long as these front two in the form of Ewan Baker and Stuart Vaughan don't trip over each other, Chastanoff should be right in their shadows once they decide to conduct their compulsory pit stop. But very, very experienced drivers in their own right between Baker and Vaughan, so I'm sure they know what they're doing and what they have to do to keep the car pointing in the right direction and carrying as much speed and momentum as they can.
A few new Aussie car names racing tonight, but I don't think Ewan Baker and Stuart Vaughan fall into that camp. They've raced plenty of Ozicar, both in Formula Ford and in other categories in the past as well. So they understand this format. They understand, is it worth it losing too much time battling before the stop? I think they'll both understand the answer is no, because they still need to worry about some of these drivers who've made early stops like Stovall and Brody Shepherd. And like Caleb Dawson, Jordan Dakin and Adam Briggs. Briggs making a move on Zakin by the looks of things there, who then heads for pit entry, but it is a straight fight for legitimate position between Dawson and Briggs.
You can see that gap as we look at the back of the tailpipe of the car we're on board with at the moment, and it is Briggs making his way through turn number 1 using the benefit of that slipstream. If we stay on this view, we just might see how strong that potentially is going down through what is technically turn number 2, but to me this is turn number 2 we're coming down to here, which is the hard braking zone, and you can see Briggs getting right up, making a heap of ground under brakes there, and using the benefit of the climb back up the hill.
Definitely ended up gaining a couple of car lengths through all of that. Getting closer to Caleb Dawson for this battle inside of the top 10. And he gets even closer again onto the next braking zone. That seems like one of the places he's certainly gaining, as well as the slipstream. He just looks really good on the brakes. Vaughan goes to the lead and he goes to the pit lane, so Ewan Baker goes back to the lead. We're going to see a split of strategy between those two drivers duking it out for the win in race number 2, the final race of the night in Ozicar Formula Ford. Vaughan in just a little bit earlier.
Well, we might stay on Stuart Vaughan because the critical...
the gap between him and Chastanoff is what we need to see.
It's going to be very interesting to see what it turns out. You can see Chastanoff in the braking zone right now, I think, as he makes his way through.
Chastain's the car behind.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a gap into the car behind. So
I think it's sort of 4 seconds now, and by the time they get up to the top of the hill, it'll be closer to sort of 2 seconds or so. Here's a car that hasn't stopped yet. Sam Chapman sort of unlapping himself almost, if you want to call it that way. There's no blue flags or anything involved here. Chapman just had a little bit more speed on there. Vaughan doesn't want to get caught behind him, and he has. He absolutely has. He's given him a 1-2-3 hello on the rear gearbox there. Big difference in speed at the apex.
Yeah, Baker's handing out a bit of a... Vaughan handing out a bit of a tap-a-roo to the car in front, giving his indication that he doesn't want to get held up, and he's trying to get back up to speed as soon as he can. It'll be interesting to see whether Ewan Baker does dive into the pits at this lap as well, because we do have only 2 laps to go after the end of this one.
So as far as how the traffic works out, hasn't been perfect for Stuart Vaughan on his outlap. Baker has a chance to have a cleaner one, and still Vaughan has 3 seconds over Chastanoff, so a good run through the pit lane for Ewan Baker. Would still see him in the battle for the lead, but it's not going to be this lap. He's going to go one more. There's 2 more laps in this race. Ewan Baker, Tom Freer, Sam Chapman yet to make their runs through the pit lane. Everyone else has, and is fighting it out for those important points and positions early on in this season. So Sam Chapman's going to get out of the way now, and that's another thing that sort of advantages Ewan Baker compared to Stuart Vaughan, who had to deal with him on his outlap. Baker won't have to now that Chapman's gone to the pit lane.
Yeah, it just takes out one more variable element of the pit strategy there. Of course, Baker won't exactly know that Stuart Vaughan did come out in traffic as well, unless he's got a spotter on board, but most of these guys are self-crew chiefed, so he probably hasn't got the insight that we have at the moment to just know exactly how much Stuart Vaughan was potentially held up.
We'll rule out those two maybe having a little chat between each other as well. So, but it is just Baker and Freer yet to stop. Stuart Vaughan still with Good time in hand over James Chastanoff. Jamie Stovall's gotten past Brody Shepherd. Adam Briggs still got to get past Caleb Dawson, and Sam Chapman has emerged right in front of that battle. So we're going to have a couple more barnstorming final lap battles here for race 2 of Ozicar Formula Ford from the Red Bull Ring. Your race leader heads to pit lane at the last opportunity for the compulsory stop and hoping to rejoin either with or ahead of Stuart Vaughan. Freer also through the lane, about 7 seconds further behind. Baker getting towards that pit exit. Vaughan's already past the start-finish line. That's Vaughan on track around the outside. Tell you what, it's not looking bad for Stuart Vaughan. He's going to have so much speed heading up the hill, and he's going to go into the race lead, and Baker will have to slot in behind and have one lap to sort it out for the race win.
Yeah, I'm sure Stuart Vaughan there would have been thanking his lucky stars coming around the corner and not seeing the silver fern car of Ewan Baker in front of him. Looks like having a bit of a internet issue there at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get to the checkered flag without too much drama. Stuart Vaughan, though, is going to put Ewan Baker, I should say, is going to put everything on the line here to reclaim that pole position after doing all the hard yards early. I'm sure he isn't going to be content with the second position at the end of the night.
And as we're on the final lap, I only count 5 battle packs of Formula Fords all through the field. This is one of them between Chapman, Briggs and Wallmeyer. We've got Caleb Dawson, Sam Chapman and Adam Briggs in that group. Stuart Vaughan still leading from Ewan Baker, where there's only 1 car length in it. Jamie Stovall, Tom Freer and Brody Shepherd battling it out as well. How about Snell, Baldwin, all of them for 17th spot. There's only 2 tenths in the race lead. Like Stovall's holding off Brody Shepherd, and they are side by side into the penultimate corner. Stuart Vaughan's got the inside line. Baker trying to go round the outside, trying to carry immense amounts of speed, and he's going to try to do it through the final corner as well. Vaughan has to respect it. Baker's got the speed. He heads to the checkered flag, and Ewan Baker wins race number 2 from Stuart Vaughan. James Chastanoff there in 3rd, and the battle between Shepherd, Stovall and Freer, it looks like Shepherd's been able to strike back, and he takes 4th.
Yeah, Shepherd doing a real good job there to head off that little SSR battle pack that was he was in amongst on that final lap there. A few more cars crossing the line. Caleb Dawson, Sam Chapman there doing a really good job with Jacob Wallmeyer, and Douglas Gowson there, the 4 cars separated by not a great amount of time.
So a couple of positions being decided on the final lap there as well for the race lead, but also Brody Shepherd against the others. Looked like Adam Briggs and Sam Chapman had a drag race off the final corner that Adam Briggs was successful at. Keep an eye on how close some of the margins are in the race 2 results. Ewan Baker winning by 0.3 of a second over Stuart Vaughan. The battle that came down to the final pit stop and the final lap. James Chastanoff, Brody Shepherd, Jamie Stovall, Tom Freer, Dylan Zabono, Adam Briggs, Sam Chapman and Caleb Dawson as the top 10. Don't count out that effort from Adam Briggs, from 27th on the grid to 8th in just a short 12-lap race. He gained a lot of positions. And then Jacob Wallmeyer and Douglas Gowans, less than a 10th in there for 11th and 12th. Nathan Norman, Sean Doyle, Simon Clayson, Ben Miles, Brady Baldwin, Aaron Friend, John Snell and Ira Felberg as the top 20. Looking a little closer in race number 2 than they were in race number 1 as well, with Dennis Hancock, Jordan Dakin, Ben Wheeler, Dean Russell and Warren Henry last car on the lead lap, but Cody Carlson and Matthew Harriott finishing 1 lap down. All drivers finishing race number 2.
Well, the opening round of the Ozicar 2024 Season 1 has proven to be as spectacular as we hoped it to be. Again, a track that's really well suited, providing good close racing, not just up the front, but right throughout the whole course of the field. So if you enjoyed what you saw tonight, make sure you mark it in your diary, in your calendar, because we will be back for round 2 again in 2 weeks' time. And I'm sure a lot of these boys here will be keen to kick off and continue the on-track battles they've started to form tonight.
A couple of drivers stopping by now after the racing to have a chat with us. Looks like we've got the podium of race number 2 here. So I'm Freya, one race number one, but I don't have any sight of him yet. So let's go to James Chastanoff, double podium to kick things off in a new season of Ozicar Formula Ford, James.
Yeah, thanks guys. Double podium, but still no win.
How about the strategy in a slightly bigger pack here? A very healthy looking grid to kick off the new season, but a bit of traffic out there.
Yeah, really hard to work out what to do strategy-wise. There's a lot more people up the front this season already. Makes things a little bit trickier to work out what the best strategy is, and it's really hard to call it. First round, everyone's pretty eager to try and get a win in the bag, I think, and yeah, it was very racy, so it was really hard. Usually, I follow the strategy of either pit at the first lap or pit at the end, but yeah, felt like I was getting held up too much for some battling, so I came in a bit earlier in the first one, and then similar thing in the second one as well. So yeah, might need to revisit the strategies.
Still a second and a third, not bad. I want to say on round points, that's second place and builds you a really firm foundation with 5 more rounds and some interesting tracks and formats still to come.
Yeah, it's a good start. I didn't feel like I was really on the pace at all, and Ewan Baker's absolutely flying. So yeah, if you told me I was going to get a second and a third tonight, I would have very deeply questioned it without any mishaps. And I guess those mishaps actually happened, and that's why I'm here where I am.
Well done. Thanks for joining us, and best of luck with 5 more rounds of Ozicar Formula Ford coming up over the next weeks and months.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate all the work you guys do, and Ira puts on, and all the guys who race tonight. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next couple of races.
Sweet as. James Chastanoff, second in race 1, third in race 2. Second in race number 2 is going to join us. Jason, I'm going to grab Stuart Vaughan for you.
Yes, we're welcome to the commentary box. Absolutely no stranger to the Simspeed commentary team up here. We welcome Stuart Vaughan. A bit of a mixed night for you tonight. Of course, some mishaps in race number 1, but a big redemption race to come back in race number 2, mate.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with race 1. Obviously, there's some stiff competition now with all the SSR boys and a few new guys joining up, so might have to put in a few laps for the next track to make sure I'm up there in qualifying. But no, it was a pretty good second race. Pretty lucky in with some of the accidents there, and gee, what a pass by Ewan at the end.
Yeah, he was carrying some really good speed, and it was a very similar setup to how race 1 ended as well, except the roles were reversed. But to hold that speed around the outside was something pretty incredible to watch. But nonetheless, second place is, you know, you like to finish first and take that win away at the end of round number 1. But we've got a 6-round championship ahead of us, and a pretty good way to end race number 1 with a second step on the podium.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it was sort of because race 1 was a bit of a write-off. I thought I really needed to bag second at least, so I wasn't going to go absolute balls to the wall. But no, I was very impressed, mate. Good stuff.
So, by your little comment there, with some new drivers, are you expecting to have to put in a bit more practice time and a bit more preparation rather than just rolling up on a Monday night and rolling the dice to see what happens?
Well, if I want to start winning, I'm gonna have to, because I haven't touched iRacing since the last round. So I think that really showed probably in the qualifying effort. Just wasn't really comfortable. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to some competition. It's good that we've got a pack of about 6 to 8 guys that are going to be challenging for wins. So it'll make for the for a good broadcast as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, there's a good contingent of SSR cars, which you spoke about, which have joined the ranks to join this season. So any one of those 3 or 4 drivers could potentially find themselves up the pointy end of the field. And of course, you've got some old favourites like yourself, Ewan Baker, James Chastanoff, and even going back as far as Jacob Wallmeyer or you know, some of the Sean Doyles of the world as well. So it's really going to be a mixed season, and something that we're really looking forward to as the season develops.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to give me any extra room, because technically I'm a member of SSR, although I don't do too many races with them. So it's yeah, once the visor down, mate, it's all on.
Well, that's what we like to see from a commentator's point of view, because it means really good racing on track. So congratulations tonight. I'm sure you'll walk away with that, put the thinking cap on to see what you can do to become a bit more consistent from here on in, but still not the worst night. There's plenty more racing to come with plenty more points on offer.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Good to be back.
Bit of a crowd favourite, Stuart Vaughan there, securing second on the podium here in the final race tonight on our Ozicar debut for 2024. But Dave, I think you've gone for a bit of a walk with the microphone down into the pit lane, or the winner's podium more to the point, and might have Ewan Baker by your side.
I'm trying. Yeah, here we go. Race 2 winner Ewan Baker on the podium in race number 1. By all calculations, round 1 winner.
Yeah, not too bad. Can't ask for any more than that, can I? Yeah, that was fun. It's good to be back. Been a couple of seasons out from Ozicar, and yeah, coming back tonight, I question why I had a break. It was just a lot of fun. A lot of very fast guys out there, and yeah, that was some good racing.
Again, a bit of a split in the strategy through the field. Yourself and Stuart Vaughan were together for a bit of that second one, and he decided he'd pit a bit earlier than you.
Yeah, I was trying to be clever. I did that twice, like in both the races, and it didn't really pay off for me, so maybe I should just stop thinking and just drive. Because, I lifted off on the straight to drop behind him, see if I could trick Stuart into going into the pits, which he did. So I was able to keep going, and then immediately drove wide at the last corner and got a second slow down. So that put paid any advantage I would have got there. Made for a very exciting last lap though, which was good. And then my other bit of trying to be clever was race 1. I thought, I'll pit early, get out of this battle pack, try and get some clean air, because I knew my pace in clean air was pretty quick. Waited for everyone to go by, or what I thought was everyone. Turns out I didn't let Chastity through, and he just clipped my rear wheel as I was sweeping into the pits, and I got damage from that and had to stop in my box for a fast repair. And also didn't turn my fuel off, so it was a bit of a comedy of errors for that one. Cost myself probably 6 to 7 seconds with that, so not ideal, but I think I was quite lucky to come back through to third. And then that battle with Stuart in race 2 was fantastic, and absolutely delighted to be the victor on that one.
It's a track that I think emphasises some of the characteristics of how the Formula Ford race with their slipstream. It's sort of long straight corner, long straight corner.
Yeah, it's actually quite a nice balance of a track, because you've got the long straights, which brings the slipstreaming into effect. You've got the heavy braking zones, which really hammering the brakes on these things and getting that rear end skated and sort of twisted in to help you get around the corner is a lot of fun when you absolutely nail it. And there's also another couple of corners through the middle section where you've really got to sort of balance the sort of yaw of the car and get it just to sort of glide through the corner. So it demands a bit of everything from you as a driver, and it's deceptively complicated for a track with 8 corners. So great track for these cars. You'd think it would be a bit too big, but it actually works out pretty perfectly.
Feels like 7 corners. They number it as 10. Must have been someone who went to Road America.
Yeah, classic American counting system. I don't know what the Austrians are up to. That's too many numbers for me to count when I'm driving. As we established, thinking driving doesn't work with me, so I'll stick to just going around them and not counting as I go.
Here's a number that's easy to count because it fits on one hand. 5 more rounds to go, hitting up the European tracks like Rudskogen, like Jerez as well. Going to be interesting. Any standouts there? And then, hey, how about an enduro at Monza?
Yeah, well, the enduro at Monza sticks out because I think that's Monza combined, so that's going to be absolutely mental. Kind of nervous for that. I mean, you see the slipstream on these things. It is going to be it's going to be half an oval race because of the combined track, but it's going to be almost a bit of a lottery and just a battle to survive the full time for that one. So that will be interesting. On a personal level, really looking forward to Jerez. I think that's a fantastic track, especially for the more low-powered cars. So there's Formula 4, Toyota 86s, TCR, that sort of thing. I think it just absolutely excels. So very excited to go around there.
Look forward to seeing you then. Got a bit of target on your back for these remaining rounds as well. It'll be a good show.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well, so it doesn't really change too much from my point of view and my mindset going forward. But Yeah, no, happy to be up front and, let them come for me. I think it's going to be a great season and a great battle throughout.
Well done. Congrats. We'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So James Chasanoff, Stuart Vaughan and Ewan Baker joining us after the first round of the new season of Ozicar Formula Ford Season 4 and kicking off 2024 for Ozicar in a very, very competitive fashion. Make sure you do subscribe to Simspeed TV wherever you're watching as we bring you live coverage of every round of this season of Ozicar Formula Ford. Up next, later on in January, Rudskogen Motor Centre in Norway will host round 2. We do hope we'll see you there and say thank you to Ozicar and all of their partners, Prestige Trophy Badge and Engraving, Sim Racing Leagues, Locked On Lads and the No Social Hate campaign. I've been David Haynes with Jason Fewens, Daniel Gaiman on the production on the replays. See you in 2 weeks' time in Norway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.